Good morning, everybody. How are you? Look at this. Our friend Leslie. She says, hey, Brooks, finally got a live show. Woohoo! Let's go, Leslie. Let's go. There's our friend Rexy. Rapper's in. Our friend Rebecca's here. You know Corey Mikolos' grandma. She's a new YouTube member, and we are going to be doing a show about Corey soon. I just have to get with her because there's some updates about Christopher Greger and how he's doing in the jail. Well, how are you all doing? My goodness, yesterday was quite a fun-filled day. Now, I need promises from all of you. Midwest, Rapper, Mau Mau, Wait, Mirvi, Cat. As you know, yesterday, Lisa K. Ruitz threatened me with a privacy strike because I didn't ask her permission when I made my thumbnail. Now, don't tell anybody. I did not ask Savannah Guthrie or her mom if I could put them on my thumbnail. So, that being said, I really hope I don't get a privacy strike. I think YouTube would be a little too busy because I think I'm like one of like 80,000 people on YouTube right now talking about what has happened to Nancy Guthrie. And it is wild. And a lot of stuff broke yesterday. I don't even know what to say. Oh, Susan's upset. Susan is shaking in her slippers. Good morning, Boston. How are you? So who's got their pink on? Who has got their pink on? Because you know what today is. Oh, you know what it is. It is hump day. It's my husband's turnaround day, which means he'll be heading back this way. We got lots of meanness to celebrate.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
She said, I know I miss commercials, not the damn ads, the real commercials. Speaking of commercials, are you guys going to be watching the Super Bowl? I'm going on strike. I will not be watching it. No, I will not. I hope the Patriots win because the Seahawks still stink of Pete Carroll. I will be eating a lot of Super Bowl food, though. You know, all the snack foods, the spinach artichoke dip, the guacamole, the queso. With my queso, I put tamales in it. It's really good. Poppy would rather watch paint dry. Okay. Sarah's going to be watching the Olympics. When does the Olympics start? I thought the Olympics started next week. Ooh. St. Elmo's Fire, welcome to the chat. Said hello all, first time here, I believe. All right. Welcome. Hey, you guys, we have a couple of new people in here. You know what to do. Welcome your neighbor. And remember, we are live every morning at 9 a.m. Central, sometimes twice a day. Carrie said, you need a protest Super Bowl show. Well, you know, it's a good idea. Everybody, well, you have to remember, too, it's a huge character flaw. I'm a sore loser, and the Chiefs aren't in it, okay? So that is 100% on me. But, you know, everybody else gets to protest. That's what I'll do. I'll make a sign, and I'll stand outside Linda's house protesting the Super Bowl. Would you guys like some live action of that? Yes, exactly, Angie, baby. We're live and shit. Britt, where you been? I've missed you. I had to put a bell around your neck. I never know where you're at. All right, a lot of stuff went on yesterday, as you know. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since Sunday. She didn't go to church. One of the church ladies called and got a hold of her, they say, family, which is her daughter and son-in-law, and said she wasn't at church. Let's look at the timeline. That's the easiest way to do it. Let's check out the timeline. Okay, Saturday, she arrived home about 9:45 p.m. Now, she's no spring chicken, Nancy. And so she didn't get dumped off at the road and get herself into the house. No, her daughter went in with her, got her sorted out, got her situated, put her purse down and things like that. Okay. The next morning, same daughter is alerted that her mom didn't come to church. Okay. So they say early morning. Okay. I don't know. They don't specify what early morning is when this call was made to Annie Guthrie. Annie and I believe her husband go to the house at 11 o'clock a.m. Now, this is where it gets confusing. Remember, Nancy is 84 years old. Okay. So just the fact that she wasn't in the house would garner an immediate 911 call. But they didn't call until a little bit after noon. And I think that confuses some people because in the news conference on Monday, they made it clear that the home is definitely the crime scene. And it was apparent as soon as they walked in. Why was it not apparent to Annie? And I think his name is Thomas, I believe. Okay, well, things were really heating up yesterday, my friends. They talked about DNA in the house, reported by the New York Post. Look at that. There is a camera that was removed from outside the house. There is blood splatter you can see outside the house. Not good. Not good. And overnight, it came out. This is after we heard about the ransom note yesterday afternoon. It came out that the son-in-law and Annie are having major financial problems. Now, it could mean something, could mean nothing. However, he is a 6th grade teacher. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. Very great profession. However, we know what they make, okay? We know what they make. Not here to debate it, not here to talk about teachers, anything like that. I'm just telling you, we have a rough guesstimate as to what he makes. They purchased a $650,000 home. Their mortgage payment is more than what he makes in a month. So therein lies a problem. Do you guys see where I'm going? And again, you know what? Let's look at this and we'll talk about what happened at Annie's house yesterday and why Savannah got the hell out of Dodge. She's still in Arizona, but isn't around her sister anymore. It's all adding up.
For joining us, the Pima County Sheriff has confirmed to CBS News they received a ransom note related to the apparent abduction of Nancy Guthrie. The note contains specific details of what Nancy, the mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, was wearing Saturday night when she is believed to have been taken, although the sheriff would not confirm the accuracy of that information.
Okay, so this is what's important about the ransom note. It could be just some nutcase that's taken advantage of a situation, or it could be truly the person or people that have Nancy because they went into description, which they're not going to share with the media. All of this is supposed to be this large amount of money is supposed to be delivered to the kidnappers Thursday, no later than Monday, I read. So, they're lenient kidnappers, all right? They're not going to rush anybody for what they want. And but it has to be in Bitcoin. You heard that right. It has to be in Bitcoin.
Our crews also took this video, which appears to show drops of blood on her doorstep of her home, but it's unclear whose blood it may be. Detectives collected DNA samples from the home that had been confirmed to belong to Nancy, but the sheriff has not confirmed whether those samples were blood. The local sheriff said the investigation is ongoing, warning reporters during a press conference today the department is still waiting for evidence to be processed to get more answers.
We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints.
True Crime Beat said Bitcoin isn't trackable, is it? I don't know enough about it. I really don't. I don't delve in the Bitcoin world. Michelle Mouse, what's up, girlfriend? I haven't seen you in a long time. Look at this. I stand corrected. Like I said, could be something, could be nothing. Michelle Mouse said, my friend is a sixth grade teacher out there, makes $120K a year, and she and her hubby have a gorgeous $1 million home in that area. All righty then. Like I said, could be something, could be nothing. Could be nothing. Lala, where have you been? Good Lord, Lala. Didn't know where the hell you'd gone.
DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine. And we gathered that out. Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us. And we're like you. We're waiting for those returns to come back.
CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez joins me now from outside the Guthrie home. What more have we learned?
Well, Lindsay, the Pima County Sheriff told Jonathan Vigliotti that ransom note was sent to a local television station late last night. They ended up sharing it with investigators, but chose not to make it public. The sheriff said that note did include specific details about the home and what Nancy Guthrie was wearing that night. He would not confirm whether that information is accurate, but the FBI reviewed that note and made a decision to share it with Savannah Guthrie nearly 20 hours after receiving it and analyzing it. The sheriff says they are taking this note very seriously. Authorities had hoped to keep it from becoming public, but that same note was later sent to TMZ, which
it was sent to TMZ. It was sent to Scripps Media in Tucson. It was sent to Page 6, New York Times. And people are talking about it, but they are respecting the FBI's request not to publish it. Now, right now, where I'm at with this son-in-law situation and the rumors about money problems, I'm kind of on the fence about that. Because, well, for one, I would think if they were having those type of problems, somebody would just help him out. You know what I mean? But then if he does have his mother-in-law, well, for one, where the hell is she? Because he's at home, Annie's at home. So where the hell did he put her, or they? We don't know. But it would be a good sign that she's still alive, because the letter did say she's getting weak, she needs her medication, so you better get this money to us now.
And reported on it before contacting the sheriff's office. We here at CBS News need to emphasize the note's authenticity has not been verified. As for the surveillance video, the sheriff's office said that they have not produced anything productive, helpful so far. Investigators believe the system may have been set to automatically delete footage.
I think TMZ picked it up from CBS Tucson that received it. And then people started running with it. That's just what I think.
After a short period of time, and now they're attempting to recover that video using forensic tools. As you noted, we did observe some small amounts of blood outside the front door of the house here. Again, the sheriff was asked over at the press conference earlier today about that blood, and he says that they have sent DNA evidence over to the lab, and they have received some results, but those results haven't told him who did this. He also stressed that that forensic work overall takes some time, and they still don't have the answers for that, and they're still waiting for more information to come back. Lindsay.
Andres Gutierrez, thank you. Anna Schechter joins me now. She's a senior coordinating producer for CBS News' Crime and Public Safety Unit.
Now, let me ask you all, I'm not going to put a poll or anything up. Do you think the 1 hour window, the stall, I'll just call it the stall, to call 911 is odd? Because let's face it, she's 84 years old. If she's not in bed, not in her kitchen, not in the bathroom, not in her backyard, I mean, just the fact that she's not there, that would be enough to warrant a call.
The story just gets more and more distressing. So the Pima County Sheriff Department told our Jonathan Vigliotti that they were trying to keep the information of this ransom note from going public, but it leaked. Why would they want to do that, to prevent it from going public?
Well, they want to figure out the best course of action. This is a complex situation, potentially a complex negotiation, and you don't want a lot of noise influencing the outcome when you want to have as much control over the situation as possible.
Well, it's out now. It's out now. Okay. The ransom note is out. We know a little bit about it. I don't know the amount, just that they want this money Thursday, no later than Monday. What really hits me about the 1 hour stall is that literally Annie and, how do you say his name? Tomas or whatever. They were like literally just in that house the night before, getting Nancy in the house. Or I'll just assume, Annie took her mother in and he sat in the car. Okay. So she knew Saturday afternoon what the house looked like. She knew Saturday night when she dropped her mom off what the house looked like. So when the police say they immediately knew when they got there they had a crime scene, that suggests some kind of struggle, because they have said they know she left against her will. How come they didn't pick up on that?
A law enforcement perspective. So they were not happy that this information leaked out, but then they felt they had to put out there that they are taking this seriously, and every tip, including that one, went to the FBI, and their detectives were working closely together.
Any other information that you glean from Jonathan's interview with Sheriff Nanos?
Well, all this around the note is really
Hold on, Bama's blowing my mind. Bama said, we don't even know that they both left the house after dropping the mom off. So you're saying that they could have been there at the house the entire night? Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Something's heating up because yesterday, the FBI went to Annie in Thomas's house, and they removed several items, and they seized Annie's car. Okay, this is reported by New York Times, Page 6, and the New York Post has reported it. This is not my journalism, okay? I have to give credit where credit's due. That tells me a lot when the FBI seizes a car and they go to a house, and Savannah, who was kind of camping out with her sister as they're having this family emergency, got the hell out of Dodge. She's still in Arizona, but she's like, no, I'm not hanging out with Sissy no more. Who knows?
Extraordinary. And so it was great to have Jonathan there asking him about it. But in terms of the surveillance video in the house, we learned that actually it would tape over and wouldn't save in a way that's easy to obtain the video. So the surveillance video from inside her home right now is not helpful.
They were talking about that. And, when it comes to security systems, I don't know what you guys have, what you use. It's kind of like, if you're going to get a security system, go big or go home, because we have heard of too many cases where the cameras around the house and everything are in no way, shape, or form helpful, because they tape over each other like every 20 minutes. And then it becomes a long, drawn-out process to get the taped over portions. Now, there's some, they don't tape over at all, but that's a lot of money.
But what I think is going to be even more helpful, because in a funny way, it almost doesn't matter what happened in the house. What matters is finding them and getting the make and model of the vehicle that she was taken away in is key to finding them, because that way a multi-state coordinated investigation can kick in where they're looking for one vehicle.
The sheriff's office says that their next briefing is going to be Thursday morning. What does that tell you?
Well, they're trying to space this out. I don't want to read too much into why. They might want to just keep things more contained. It might be that the FBI didn't want to have so much information coming out through the sheriff's department in those multiple interviews and talking to different reporters, including myself. They definitely made public that they want to kind of pull things back and take more time before they make any public statements. But it also tells me that potentially they have more leads to go on, and they want to focus all their effort on pursuing those and not taking the time to hold these briefings.
Right, you've been working this at all hours.
All hours of the night. Look at her. She's like the Lisa K. Ruitz of CBS. You've been working this all hours. All hours. Yes, she has. Yes, she has. Again, it could be something, could be nothing. And of course they're going to talk to Annie and her husband. Of course they're going to talk to him. Of course they are. There they are again. Of course they're going to talk to him. They were the last people to see Nancy. The last people. Something that was reported back from her pacemaker tells them that this abduction happened between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. I have a feeling through their investigation, they're going to get that 4 hours narrowed down. Narrowed down. Now, I don't understand this, but on Monday, Savannah Guthrie put out a very, very heartfelt plea on Instagram. And it was very faith-driven, you know what I mean? It was just pray. We believe in prayer. We believe, in the Lord above. And I don't know why, but some people found it to be tacky. I just live in a world anymore that some people just don't freaking matter to me. They just don't, okay? Because it's no secret that she is a very faith-driven person.
I had friends who said, oh, well, now what about your faith? What do you think? And I remember saying to them in that moment, this is when I need God the most. I can't lose my dad and lose God at the same time. I can't afford it. And so that has been a lifelong journey of coming to understand who God is, how he interacts with the world, what it means to live in a broken world. Where are you, God? What are you up to? Everything happens for a reason. Does it? What reason? If you're God, you can.
Snow! Girlfriend! Where you been? I've missed your face. Snow said most unbelievers, listen to me, think prayer is tacky. Shut the fuck up. Why do you have to sit there and talk about how this woman is grieving what's going on in her life? Why? Just shut the fuck up. It's so easy to just say nothing.
Can accomplish that goal without horrible suffering. It's an irreverent thought, but I don't think God is afraid of that thought. And when I have wrestled with those things, I've come to a greater understanding about this broken world that we live in. What we can believe, and this is the leap of faith, is that God has promised that one day there will be no more suffering, and there will be no more tears, and there will be no more injustice. And that's the world he has in mind. And that's the world he's still working for. And that's the dream of God that we're supposed to still be trying to accomplish in our little way. And in our little way means by receiving his love. Remember in those early days.
So it's really no surprise that she's leaning on her faith right now. St. Elmo's Fire said, what a huge insult to Savannah and other family members. That's what's tacky. That is what's tacky. She didn't have to post shit. Hold on. Boston's calling. Okay, first. Scrap Owl said sister has a villain look in the picture. They keep showing her with her husband. I know. And Boston said, people are upset that Savannah pulled out of the Olympics. What time is it? 9:25 a.m. That would be really tacky to start drinking right now. Get yourself together, Brooks. Control. Deep breath in, deep breath out. OMG, Boston. OMG. G. Boston. You have got to be kidding me. All right, let's go through the dispatch audio, then we're going to go through what Banfield hit us with yesterday. Very proud of her. Actually left her a comment yesterday, and I said, I am really glad that you're wearing other colors. Now I see this is a News Nation problem, not a you problem. I got a heart from her. Y'all, I got a heart from her. I'm going to screenshot it, and I'm going to rub it in TCB's face. You better believe it.
Got a hold of something. We just got a hold of this police scanner audio from when Nancy was first reported missing on Sunday. I want to play it, and then I want to get to you, Brian, on your take on it. Let's take a listen.
Thank you. Look what Mir V said. Mir V said, okay, remember, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And God forbid you take care of your damn self. People always have a question. They always have to question people's personal tactics. I don't get it. I mean, I've got all day for like Lisa K. Ruitz and the Wells. But exactly, Mir V. Could you imagine what people would say if her ass popped up in Italy with her mama missing? She'd never let that down. Again, the cheap seats yell the loudest. And I guarantee this woman is a mess because she was what a horrible thing to say was, she is extremely close with her mother. Great comment, Mir V.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, Pineapple Blue. After 2,200 hours as of yesterday. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Pacemaker, and she has cardiac issues. Wow. And Mir May, I smell what you're stepping in, girlfriend. Oh, yes, I do. Where is Boston? She needs to hear this comment. I think the husband made his true dreams and passion come true, and that was to be a musician. He never made that come true. Now, it has been said on some other sites that for many, many years, even when Savannah was like a legal correspondent for NBC, he was always wanting her to use her connections to get him in the spotlight. And now we hear all this, and it's kind of like we have a lot of baggage coming out.
Brian, that's key, right? When we talk about the medication, when we talk about the pacemaker, that is a race against time. What did you take away from that audio?
Yeah, I mean, I pick up on the pacemaker comment. We've reported that she has the pacemaker, that it connected to the Apple Watch, that the Apple Watch was charging, and that the last time the pacemaker connected to the Apple Watch was around 2 a.m., which is presumably around the time she was kidnapped, because that's why it stopped connecting to the Apple Watch. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was listening to it. But yeah, it's key just because she's an 84-year-old woman.
Okay. That explains it. I know when we were talking about it yesterday, we were just going back and forth in comments. We didn't do a show about this. I didn't realize that the Apple Watch was communicating with the pacemaker. Does anybody know? Because I haven't heard. Where's the watch? Where's the watch? So it stopped communicating. What did I say? Knock on wood. I said that 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., they're going to wind up getting that, down to a gnat's ass. So it stopped communicating with the pacemaker at 2 a.m. Wow. That kind of gives me the creeps.
Who needs her medication. And I think that's one of the reasons there's sort of a race against time here. As more time passes and she doesn't have the medicine, the outcome looks more and more grim.
Brian, what do we know about these ransom notes? One to TMZ, one to a local station, I believe in Arizona. What can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so it was an email to TMZ, Jesse. There was apparently some specific information in the note about what they claimed that Nancy Guthrie was wearing when she was kidnapped, and also some specific details from inside the house, and then a very specific amount that they were requesting money-wise. What we don't know is if any of that information is even right. I mean, this could all just be totally made up. Someone who just emailed TMZ. There was also a Bitcoin account where they were requesting the money be sent. And then there was a similar message also sent to a local TV affiliate here in Tucson. Again, these could just be like idiots, you know, trying to get money and thinking I'm going to email TMZ and try to get involved. We don't know. But the sheriff did put out a release afterwards saying they're taking it seriously and they are investigating, you know, whether or not it's real. And I asked at the press conference also about Ransom, and they didn't deny it. He said something like, "Oh, we're looking into everything." He didn't say, "No, we haven't gotten any, you know, requests for ransom."
And they should be looking into anything else. Have to be careful not to compromise investigation. They might be even looking into see if anybody committed a crime by if there was a fake ransom. So you've been at the house. I want to go back to something I mentioned before.
Okay, let me make this clear because it took me a little bit for my little brain to absorb this. The Bitcoin account is legit. So there is an account. They know the amount and they know where this money is supposed to be sent. The legitimacy of the letter, they haven't verified yet because they don't know if it's some crackpot trying to get rich or if it's someone that has Nancy. Preschool Granny, thank you for using your thinking cap because I obviously don't have mine on today. Preschool Granny said the watch is at home and I think that's why it stopped communicating. Well, duh, because Nancy's not at home. Let's go ahead and give Brooks Idiot of the Week and give Preschool Granny Comment of the Day. Be kidding me. Great comment, Granny. Thank you so much. St. Elmo's Fire Hurts a $6 million ransom. Ooh, I didn't hear that. Well, when is the FBI? I've watched this in movies before. When are they gonna say we need contact and we need proof of life? We need proof of life. And the small reward that they had the family put up, we've seen this in other cases where you have a wealthy family. They go put up a small reward. We're talking like $500 because we do not want these people thinking that you have a lot of money. We don't want them thinking that, you know, you just have the checkbook open. And if it's $6 million, I'm not saying Savannah Guthrie has it in her account, but I guarantee she knows someone at NBC that can get it.
Does it look like the camera was taken, the doorbell camera? Does it look to you like someone removed that camera, outside of her house? Because that would be a critical piece of evidence. I know we talked before about what it would actually show, given how dark it is. But does it look like that was removed?
It does, and it's just, you can see in the video, there's just a mount there now. And the camera is gone. And I asked about that at the press conference. I asked the sheriff, do you think the perpetrator is the one who took the camera? And he said, we also noticed that the camera is missing and we're looking into it. So it's very strange.
So the police said they also noticed that camera is missing, as the New York Post put up. Here it is again. Here it is again. And they're looking into that. The police don't have it. They said they are looking into where the camera went.
Strange that the camera is missing. The big question I have is, was the camera recording to the cloud? Many of these new Ring cameras and Google-based cameras record to a cloud, so even if it was removed, the video up until that point would still exist and they would be able to get it. We don't know the answer to that. It's kind of another strange part of the press conference, though. The sheriff said they're still having issues getting certain surveillance video and they're working with companies, and he was frustrated by that.
Spoiler alert. I was talking to my husband, DT driver. He doesn't buy any of that shit. He doesn't buy any of that shit. He says they are just telling the public that so they'll get off their back. He thinks they know a lot more than what they're saying.
So maybe by now they've been able to, capture some of that video. But I guess if someone just grabbed the camera or grabbed it from the side or from behind, it may not even show anything.
That's why you got the FBI there. That's why they have the resources to gather that digital evidence, and it's so important in a case like this. Brian Enton, excellent reporting, and thank you for that video about the blood spatter or the potential blood spatter. Very important in this case.
I hate when they say potential blood spatter. Then what is it? Then what is it? I can clearly see what it is. What are you going to tell me it is? They brought her a slushie from Sonic and it dripped. What are you going to tell me?
Case, Brian, thank you. As we've been talking about, the 48 hours after a kidnapping are absolutely critical because they're investigators' best chance to follow up on leads while events are still fresh in witnesses' minds. The problem here, which is why it's very concerning right now, is we are way past that 48-hour mark, and time is especially important in this case because of Nancy Guthrie's vital need for medication. So what are investigators doing to find her as the clock keeps counting down? To get some answers, we called in retired homicide detective and director of the Cold Case Foundation, Chris McDonough, who previously worked on both the JonBenet Ramsey and Elizabeth Smart cases.
Oh! Where's Pat Kay? Where is Pat Kay? Her man's on the screen. Paging Pat Kay. Paging Pat Kay.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to start right here. I am wondering if this was professional. There's an idea here. We talk about whether it was targeted. It's indicated before that there's no danger to the public. But you're talking about potentially taking, the camera, not leaving, as far as we can see, any kind of forensic evidence behind to identify a suspect. There was no tire tracks. There was no footprints. We can't find her. Do you think that this was a sophisticated crime?
Jesse, first of all, I think what the investigators are going to focus on to answer that particular question is what they call the victim risk continuum. And what I mean by that is if you take the letter L, for an example, and on this side, look at environment, situation, circumstance, and then low, medium, and high risk. What's the environment here? She's at her house. What's the situation? She's in bed, potentially at 2 o'clock in the morning. And what's the circumstance? This is an
She's 84 years old. Where do you think she'd be at 2 o'clock in the morning? She just had dinner with her daughter and son-in-law, and I think there might have been some other people there. They haven't named them, but we know for a fact she was with Annie. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, he's talking about victimology, and no, I'm not downplaying Chris or anything. I'm just talking out loud. 2 o'clock in the morning. Think that she high-trekked it over to Phoenix to prostitute herself at the truck stops. 2 o'clock in the morning, she's in bed. She's in bed. It would make sense that when someone was leaving the house, they grabbed that camera, because there's also some talk of some other cameras being smashed.
4-year-old woman who has disappeared from that house. Are those activities, are they low, medium, or high risk activities? Everything goes to that low side. So there's a higher probability then, statistically, that the lower the victim risk level associated to the crime, the higher probability that the offender there was a pre-association between the victim and the offender. And so that's where they're going to, put those efforts in relationship to that. And, I can explain a little bit more, a little bit deeper as we go on here about that.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and
Yeah, really, Poppy. 2 o'clock in the morning, like she jumped the neighbor's fence and decided to go swim in her pool. I mean, come on. Yeah, that's the reason I have these questions. I am not saying Annie and her husband did anything, that they are involved in this. I do know that there's a lot of speculation. I do know they seized her car. I do know all that. They were called early in the morning. This is the timeline to say, Mama didn't come to church. 11 a.m. they get to the house. So there obviously was no hurry there. Like thinking, like she might be doing Pilates or something. I don't know what they thought she'd be doing on Sunday morning. They know what that house looked like the night before. And they know she's not in it. So why an hour to call 911? Why? I'm telling you, my friends, this isn't going to turn out the way we want. I just really hope that Nancy is still alive. Poppy said something definitely smells fishy. Good morning, Angel P. All right. Can we have a round of applause for Beigefield? I can't call it that anymore because she's actually wearing colors now. Now listen to what she says. Listen to this.
Knowledge of the investigation, of some extraordinarily serious pieces of information about this crime scene. I can tell you that Mrs. Guthrie had cameras, plural, at this home, and that they were smashed. You may have heard Brian Enton from News Nation talking earlier and asking Sheriff Chris Nanos a question in the news conference. And again, today I'm recording on February the 3rd. It's a Tuesday.
Lola said plaid. I'm wearing plaid too. So now I can start calling her Plaidfield. Thank you, Lola. You've inspired me yet again. Plaidfield. Thank you. Snow got it first.
The press conference that was early in the day, Brian asked the sheriff, the camera on the front of the house is missing. And the sheriff said, we are trying to get into the companies that, are proprietors of this kind of cloud information to get that, and said by today, he did not have that information, did not have whatever was recorded. But I can tell you they are Nest cameras. They are Nest cameras, plural, and that whoever did this may have smashed those cameras, plural. So they're not there, presumably because law enforcement took those smashed cameras and
cameras smashed. Law enforcement took said cameras. One camera is missing
as evidence. I can also tell you I've got information about which door in the house was actually left open. There's been some erroneous reporting about some things. I now have the information about that. I can tell you about blood in the house. I can confirm. Brian Enton has some incredible reporting and pictures of blood outside the house. He's going to join me in a moment. We're going to talk about that. I can also tell you whose car has been towed into evidence. And I can tell you that there is a family member who is being heavily looked at right now as a potential suspect. I'm going to bring that all to you in a moment. There's more information about Nancy's pacemaker. You probably have heard up until now that Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker and it disconnected from her Apple devices, her Apple Watch, her Apple phone, which were left in the home at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And that is a significant time, and I will tell you why, that it is extraordinarily instructive to this investigation in terms of narrowing to a window. I'll explain why in a moment. Don't think that the pacemaker stopped working because she died. That's not it. The separation of Bluetooth between the things that the pacemaker was linked to, the Apple Watch and the phone. When they get out of range, you take your AirPods, you walk out, you leave an air tag behind, you get a notice, you're disconnected. That's more what this is about, but the timing of it is specific to narrow down the investigative window. So I'm going to get into all the details of all of these little pieces of information that I told you because I've just touched.
And remember, Annie's car was seized by the FBI yesterday. And abruptly, this was no appointment for tea time. The FBI went to Annie's house and removed some things. And abruptly, Savannah Guthrie decided she's not having no more quality time with her sissy while they are in the midst of a family tragedy. Oh no, she shut that fucking door. I wonder what they told Savannah Guthrie.
The tip of the iceberg, but I also want to get you up to speed on all the information that came out today from a few different sources. Number one, from the sheriff himself, who held a news conference and answered questions. And then also from Brian Enton, because he got some great information. And as I mentioned, he's going to be up in just a moment with me. We're going to talk about all his findings. So John Edwards is the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Tucson. He joined Sheriff Chris Nanos for the news conference today. Again, it's February 3rd, Tuesday. They held this update, but they didn't give a lot of information. They just said, basically, this is to answer your questions in the press. And I can tell you that we found out this is not a gated community. Okay, that was one report that came out. It's not a gated community. So
y'all are blowing my minds today. Lola said, or what did Savannah tell them? Hoo. Exactly. No matter how flat, there's two sides to every pancake.
Also very dark, and there are no streetlights. So very hard to see anything that might have been driving up and down those roads. The properties are huge, right? They're anywhere between 1 and 4 acres each. So more rural, don't think city, lit up, neighbor to neighbor sees everything. Your ring cam can see the street. It's not like that. Not everybody's ring cam can actually see the street from where they are on these big properties. The sheriff today said Nancy Guthrie's life is in jeopardy. Could be a couple reasons he said that. Number one, medications were left behind in the home. Medications that she would need within 24 hours could be fatal. And it's now 72 hours since the last time she was seen. So that could be why he said her life's in jeopardy. Or he could have said it because I now have definitive sourced information saying that there was in fact blood inside and outside the home. So blood inside the home is scary because we now know she was taken against her will. Kidnapped was what the sheriff told me last night when I did my episode before. So blood inside the home, kidnapped forcefully, taken forcefully. That could probably be part of the reason why her life is in jeopardy. And Brian Enton's going to show you the pictures of the blood outside the home that he discovered today as well. The media has helped generate a lot of leads, the sheriff said. That's really important.
News Daddy don't be tromping around in the blood.
He said, if you've got any information, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead to the biggest thing. Sheriff has said it's been helpful. They do not know what she was wearing when she was abducted, when she was kidnapped and taken from that home. They don't know if there were one or more kidnappers. Any indications she's still alive? Sheriff said, no idea. Can't tell you that. Is there a threat to the public? We were a little confused by the answer before. I think what he was trying to say was that we feel like this is an unusual circumstance. We don't think that this is going to be a serial kidnapping or whatever else has happened to Mrs. Guthrie, but there's someone out there that did this. So yeah, the threat is out there. He's not going to go as far as they did in Idaho early on and say there's no threat to the public, because Brian Koberger was out there for, over 6 weeks and he's a threat to the public, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like there was no threat. It didn't feel like there was a big threat. So take that the way you will. Were there any valuables taken, ATM cards? Sheriff would not say. Sheriff wouldn't say, was there forced entry? I can tell you definitively there was absolutely forced entry. The pacemaker information, they didn't want to talk a lot about it, but I will tell you, my reporting, my source says that the 2 a.m. separation, when the pacemaker stopped responding to the devices it was connected to, the Apple phone, the Apple Watch, that is the time they are narrowing down this kidnapping to. Yes, she was last seen at 9:45, but the kidnapping, they are pegging it to that moment. because that is when the pacemaker that's inside the girl, the woman, the elderly mother who was taken out of that house, it's separated. And so that is what they are now narrowing the disappearance time down to, according to my law enforcement source with knowledge of this investigation.
Could you just imagine waking her up at 2 o'clock in the morning? And here's my question. If it's her son-in-law and her daughter, she would have just gotten up and gone with them. There wouldn't have been a sign of a struggle. There wouldn't have been anything like that. Hell, she just had dinner with them. Somebody had to have been paid to do this. This had to be somebody she did not know. Because if it was just her daughter, there would not be signs of a struggle. There wouldn't be blood inside the house and outside.
Pacemaker separates 2 a.m. That's when they believe the actual kidnapping happened. The house was turned back over to the family yesterday after 6 p.m. Again, that would be Monday, February 2nd. They processed everything. Crime scene tape went up, done with the residents, turned back over to the family, but nobody washed the blood off the front steps up to the front door. And Brian Enton was able to go up and look at it because it's not a crime scene anymore. You're going to talk to Brian in a moment about that. I think I'm.
And she's got an Amazon package.
Mentioned this before, but if I didn't, they are waiting for the camera information and very frustrated. The police are very frustrated by how long it's taking to get the Nest company. I learned that it is the Nest company. It's not Ring Cam. It's not Ring.com. It's Nest cameras that were out front that were smashed. They are waiting for the corporate as evidence, and those are now in evidence lockup as part of this investigation. But again, I can't reiterate enough how dark this area is. No streetlights, dark and rural. Whoever smashed those cameras could very well have been completely cloaked, and that may not help a lot. Maybe you'll see someone's gate. Maybe the exterior lights were off on the home. Who knows? Depends on what kind of Nest cam she has. Does it show night vision? I mean, there's lots of different levels that you can get. Who knows what information that will yield? Whoever smashed those cameras, what will we see? What kind of, right-handed, left-handed, walking up? What was the gait? Does it look like a man? Does it look like a woman? Hopefully that could have been ascertained before the cameras actually ended up being smashed. It's very, very disturbing because that is so completely planned, right? This isn't some random,
It's definitely planned. It's definitely planned. And when I heard about this on Sunday, I thought it was like a silver alert. I mean, I don't know anything about Savannah Guthrie's mother. I mean, I've seen her on the show a couple of times, like Mother's Day specials and things like that. I don't know anything about like her cognizance. And I thought, because we hear about this with, older people. We do. And they get lost and stuff like that. And then it comes out she was kidnapped. And I'm going, no offense to, a generation above me. By the way, now that I think about it, not that far above me. I'm like, who would kidnap an 84-year-old? And look at Rebecca putting it all together. Wonder what time that package was delivered. I thought about that too. I don't imagine it being delivered at 2 a.m, but stranger things have happened.
Drug addict who's just looking to rob a house. This is something far more premeditated. If the cameras, plural, are smashed, whoever did this knew there was more than one. I am going to have all of this for you in exquisite detail in just a minute. I do have to just tell you this. I have sponsors that make this. The sheriff to feel as though he needed to give more regular updates because he said, I'm not giving another one for 2 days. Not until Thursday, February the 5th. Today's the Tuesday, the 3rd. Unless warranted, unless something happens. Something happened today when Brian Enton was standing right outside in front of Nancy Guthrie's house that was unique and interesting and may have been information tipped. I'll tell you that in a moment, and I'll show you the pictures from the sky. There was a chopper up ahead. So I'll tell you that in just a moment. But it was super fascinating that the sheriff wouldn't confirm blood evidence, but Brian Enton confirmed it outside, and I have confirmed it inside. There was blood inside the home. There was blood outside the home. So let me get to some of Brian Enton's amazing reporting as well before I give you a little bit more of what my law enforcement got one as well. I was a scam artist born every day. So, by the way, very illegal, very traceable. We'll get to that. Okay. Savannah put out a post today, and the Today Show, obviously this is their colleague. I'm a colleague of Savannah's. I worked with Savannah for years. We've been friends for years. We've done charity events together. She's dear. You know, she's very dear to me, and it's breaking my heart that she is down there where she grew up in Tucson.
Oh, man. I forgot they were such good friends. Remember when Banfield was on NBC and she had the short haircut and she had glasses? I mean, she's gorgeous either way, but they were really good friends. That's when Savannah was the legal consultant for, or the league, not consultant, she commented on trials and stuff.
Trying to find her mom. And she gave the Today Show a statement about where they stand at this point. This is how the Today Show aired it.
Chanel is in for Savannah once again, who remains with her family in Arizona.
Good morning, and that is where we begin this morning. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, and a beloved part of our Today family. Authorities in Arizona now saying the 84-year-old appears to be the victim of an abduction.
Overnight, Savannah posting this image on Instagram. Please pray. She went on to write, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity."
And may I go ahead and remind you that there are really people out there that are offended by her post. She said, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him." And some people are seriously pissed about this. Okay? We got some strange critters out there on the internet. We got some real goofy people.
Above all, we believe in him.
She added, "Thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment." She goes on to say, "We need you. Bring her home."
And obviously, Savannah's not on the Today Show. She wasn't on yesterday either. And she will not be going to Italy to do the Winter Olympics. This is huge for Savannah. This is every 4 years. It is one of the biggest assignments. The amount of prep that it takes to do the Olympics, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And she is not going. And someone is going to have to take her place and get up to speed and cover for her. But how heartbreaking that is that she's not going to be able to do that. And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage. Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing.
Yes, that's when she had the glasses. Thank you, No. Thank you, No said, "I remember Plattfield from 9/11. Hard to believe Ashley that old." Well, none of us are getting any younger, but I will say she's got some really good fillers, okay? She got some real good fillers.
A live report today above Nancy Guthrie's house, and it was the sheriff's helicopter, and there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. There's another vehicle that was law enforcement related, and it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those two vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. I'll tell you that in a moment. First, let me tell you some.
Talk about twins. They have the same top lip and everything. Savannah looks just like her mother. Same nose, same eyes.
Devastating stuff. So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open. Was it the point of entry was at the point of egress. Don't know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there. But the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already, 100% blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie. This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night. So Annie Guthrie, and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni, were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night.
Okay, Pat's behind. She just got to see Chris McDonough. I was paging you. I was going, Pat K, Pat K, Pat K, Pat K. Pat K's 20 minutes behind, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a spoiler alert. Ashley Banfield is now Plaidfield because she's wearing plaid all the time now. That's all right. She looks comfy.
Saturday night. Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up? Family member goes over, calls family member or members, goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. And
this is significant, okay? This happened yesterday afternoon while the FBI was at Annie Guthrie and her husband's home, okay? There's the FBI right there. Savannah about shit the bed and said, later, sister. And then they seized her car. There's her and her husband. That's Annie Guthrie. They keep calling him a boyfriend. I was under the assumption they were married. Tommaso Cioni. And they're going to have to be really delicate with this if it is a family member. If it's just some old bum off the street, they'll just hang him high and leave him out to dry. But they're going to have to treat this real delicately. I mean, I hate to say it. I know it, it sprinkles of privilege, but considering who Savannah Guthrie is, they're going to have to be real delicate with it. Because like I said a few times during the show, there's crazy people on the internet. Okay? There are some crazies.
There is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister. And my law enforcement source tells me that Tommaso Cioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let me tamp that down, because sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in there's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at.
They have to rule out family. They have to rule out family. It is no surprise that they've had so many interviews with Annie and Tommaso, whatever his freaking name is. I'm just going to call him Beard. Okay, so it's really no surprise that they have had so many interviews with Annie and Beard, okay? It is surprising that yesterday afternoon, the FBI, unannounced, Okay. They didn't call and be like, hey, it's okay if we come by and check some things out. That means they had to have had something from a judge. And they went through the house, and then they must have had some backup warrant, and they took the car. Aggie said, what is his nationality? I'm just going to guess from the last name, he's Italian.
Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart, because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But that's what happens. When anything happens like this, familial abductions, the families looked at first, and Annie and or Thomas O'Cioni were the last people to see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted, kidnapped. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that this law enforcement source is telling me that Thomas O'Cioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence. That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also said to me, who has the motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is, that's a burden, right? It's a burden.
Well, kidnapping anybody would be a burden, okay? Kidnapping anybody would be a burden. Angel P and I were talking about this at length yesterday. And of course, there's lots of different theories and stuff like that. And we deducted that it could only be about money. Lo and behold, didn't even have my crystal ball. An hour later, it breaks everywhere that there's this Bitcoin ransom request. Sarah has her own theory. Sarah said, I think at dinner they asked for money. She said no, so they did this. Woo! Woo! Charlene said, yes, they took items from Annie's home. Not only items, they took her effing car. Oh, yes, they did. And if there is one blood droplet in it, someone's going downtown.
Burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said, so you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt. And that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing.
Just out of curiosity, I put the poll up and I said, do you see any issue with Savannah sharing her faith and asking for prayers? 96% said no, 4% said yes. So I'm just curious as to what the problem could be when your mom is missing, asking for prayers. Enlighten me. I love the feedback.
I told you already about the pacemaker information. The law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m. That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like, so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood.
Webbs, what up, Webbs? Said, I assume Annie was the primary caregiver. Yes, yes, yes. And I checked in on her mom quite a bit. Matter of fact, their new home is not far from Nancy's home at all. I mean, they are in the same neighborhood. Webb said maybe it was too much and they also needed money. 2 birds, 1 stone. Woo! I just keep thinking if this was something planned between Annie and him, they would take her meds with them. They don't want a dead mama on their hands. Because but then again, we don't know who took her. At this point, with him being the prime suspect and everything the FBI is seizing from Annie's home, Annie and Thomas's home, I think they've been together since like 2009, I read. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It would have to be somebody else was sent in to do this. Would have to be.
Law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that this is someone who knew where the cameras were, somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras, plural. Okay. And as far as the TMZ ransom note,
Webb said Brooks, if they were primary caregivers, they could have had backup megs on hand. I don't know how doctors do that. I mean, most are like, there's your 30-day supply. I don't know of any doctor that's going to say, well, I'm going to give you a 30-day supply and a 30-day supply for your daughter in case you lose your shit or get kidnapped. I don't know how that works. And Boylan, exactly, Boylan family. Whoever did this had to have known it would be a big deal. Take Savannah Guthrie out of the equation. Boom, send it to Mars. Just the fact that you have a little old lady taken out of her bed at 84 years old in a very elite, comfy, beautiful neighborhood, cameras smashed and things, that in itself is going to get attention. What up, Nene? What up, Nene? Why send the ransom note to TMZ and Scripps Media Tucson and the New York Times? They wanted their word out.
my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. Just want to give you a little bit of information on Thomas Osioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom at this point I am told again may be a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists. His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valderno on June 18th, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona. I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta. LinkedIn reports that Thomas Osioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says he's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called Early Black. Music is apparently available, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's.
Early Black? What? Wants to be a rock star? Trying to get Savannah to get him some connections?
Husband, who again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded.
Look at the album cover. Oh, I bet that took all day to do.
Impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Thomas Osioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been towed, impounded, and is now in evidence. Very distressing. So Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashley, that it was not a crime scene anymore. I don't know why. I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. Or, when you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were. So we decided, like, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all opened back up. And so walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was, right by, like, almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were two, smashed them. So presumably the fact that you saw that they're gone means that the police took.
May has thrown the gauntlet down. She's not having it. I'm going to put the link up if May wants to come up. I'm going to put the link up because May said, I'm calling this now. Let's look at what happened yesterday. They took down all the crime scene tape, totally unsecured the house. I mean, I don't think you can just walk in, No police there, took down the crime scene tape. FBI goes to Annie's house, take a bunch of shit out, seize the car. It could be. And then they said they will not give an update until Thursday morning. Could be that they know what happened. Could be they know what happened. Boston, that kind of tells me that Ellie knows if the crime scene is closed, right? Yeah. They took down the tape, they seized the car, took a bunch of shit from Annie's house. Enton's on the front step thinking Savannah's going to open the door and invite him in for a sloppy Joe. And he takes pictures of blood.
Took them for evidence.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, though, is when I asked the sheriff, I was at the press conference, and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. Like, he didn't give me an answer. Like, was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
I think he's having to answer in real time to, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably. And having to, tap dance in front of live cameras, which is really hard. I mean, this is a small place. Tucson has barely had, massive crime. I think one of the biggest things was Gabby Giffords, like, 15, 20 years ago. So this is a lot. This is a big crime for them to process. And the media attention is sort of stifling. It's really, really hard.
Think Brooks, why don't you do a boots on the ground with a case? Maybe Plaidfield will have you on a live. It could happen. I've got Plaid on too. And by the way, Arizona is my jam. I love that state. Love that state. If it wasn't for the fact that my children live here in Bumblefuck, Oklahoma, which, yes, I love Oklahoma too. Yeah, your old buddy Brooks will be down in Arizona. Two Boston Moms has a lot of stuff to say. Yeah, by now, Plaidfield and News Daddy, they know the drill. They know law enforcement is not going to tell them anything. Okay? However, I will say if they took the camera for evidence, they would say that to stop speculation. They said they're looking into it. Well, now what's going on? Aunt Sherry, what you doing back there? What do you think about this case?
I think it's coordinated. I guess is the right word to say. Trying to say that it's coordinated. I mean, this was a planned thing. That's all I really know about the case, except there was a ransom note, and the lady is in her 80s. So
yeah, she's 84. Now, what do you think about them taking all that stuff out of Annie Guthrie's house, the FBI, and seizing her car? Does that look a little sus deluxe to you, Mir Sherry?
A little suspect, yes, to
I'd
me.
say so. I'd say so. I'd say so. hmm Now, did you find anything wrong with Savannah Guthrie sharing her faith and asking for people to pray?
No, I don't ever make fun of or say anything about them asking for prayers. You know, if they're asking for prayers, I'll give you prayers. But I don't think people ask for prayers unless they really feel like they need them, or unless they're just putting on a show. Some people just put on a show. But otherwise, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for prayers. And
Yeah,
I
we
went to,
know. Yeah, we
I
know
went,
this. We know this is no show. Her mama's missing. What are you saying, Sherry? Sorry.
I looked at your poll, and 95% of the people agree with me about the prayer.
Well, and people have their own reasons. I mean, I would just like to know. I need a better understanding.
I do too. I don't understand it.
Let's just talk a little bit about that blood trail a little bit before we go more into the cameras. But you find the blood trail at the front door. The front door is closed. At least it is now. My law enforcement source has told me the back door was wide open, which sort of gives you just so many questions. Is that where the perpetrator came in? Is that where the perpetrator went out with Mrs. Guthrie? Did Mrs. Guthrie answer the front door at 2 a.m. and there was a pitched fight and that's why the blood is there? Because I think you mentioned the blood doesn't go further out along the stones to the driveway.
Yeah, that's right. We looked and it was just in that area near the door. It's not like there were droplets that went out to where the driveway is or even in the driveway, which made me think, I mean, did they take Miss Guthrie out the front? And like you said, the back door being open, maybe they came in the back.
Tina Girl's in the house. She said, I don't think anyone took this old woman. This seems more family related.
Yes, I agree.
Looks like all arrows are pointing towards this lovely couple.
Yes.
Right there. Annie and Beard.
Yes. Yeah. The man in the beard.
And took her out the front and into a car. And maybe that's why the blood just stopped right there. We just don't know.
I will tell you this in my half-hour-long conversation with the sheriff last night. I said, so you think that perhaps when you say Mrs. Guthrie was taken out of that home, she did not walk out of that home, are you telling me she was carried over the threshold of the front door? And he said, I did not say the front door. So that was a clue to me. Wait, okay, not the front door. And then I learned today that the back door is open. So I am very curious. There were some erroneous reports about Mrs. Guthrie was dragged from her bed. The sheriff actually put out a statement saying that is not what I said. So we, at this point, the sheriff was walking back anybody who reported she was dragged from her bed. We don't know if the bedroom was, the epicenter of this crime yet. We don't know if there's ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and Mrs. Guthrie comes down at 2 a.m. What's going on? And something happens at the front. But why then would the back door be wide open? It's very, very confounding. Why would the blood be in the front, but the back door is open? Or did they, like you said, come in the back door, go up to the bedroom, but then take her out the front?
Yeah, and I'm just looking behind me because there's more cars in the driveway now. Step out of the way. You see that?
That makes more sense. They came in through the back door. They left it open. They got her because the blood's at the front door. And to be quite honest, the blood could have been from something else. It could have been from another day. It doesn't exactly have to be from this. Okay. I mean, she could have had, she got very, I'm going to say, very frail skin. You know what I mean? You can, just kind of scratch yourself. I mean, and these are drips. Okay. These are drips and they have not confirmed whose blood it is.
Right. To me, this is my opinion, my theory, but I believe that it's family related, inside job. It just has to be with those circumstances, with the doors and the blood. Until they test the blood, they don't know whose blood it is. And if they test it and there's no DNA of that person on file, I'm still going to say it's an inside job with the family. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, they're going to have her DNA real quick because she does all that ancestry stuff.
Right.
So it won't take them too long to figure out her. I don't know about Annie and the husband. I don't know about them, but I mean, bet your bottom dollar that with all the shit they took out of their house, they have asked for samples. And I agree
Yes.
with Austin. The blood could have been from whoever was smashing the cameras, because whoever was smashing the cameras, they had to have been in a hurry. And when you're in a hurry, boo-boos happen.
White
Yes.
Volvo, and then there's a truck. I think they've maybe brought security people in to just kind of keep an eye on the house. But one thing that you don't know until you're here, I didn't realize, is this isn't like a normal neighborhood, Ashley. It's right in the foothills. Every house I would say, is on at least an acre, maybe 2, 3, or 4 acres. They're almost like little ranches. And it's pitch. I mean, we've got our lights on for, because we're doing our
News Daddy's acting like he's on the Travel Channel. Chrissy said they said the blood hasn't helped the investigation, so I assume it's Nancy's. Well, how can it not help the investigation unless it was there from before? Maybe Annie said, no, that was already there, and we just haven't brought somebody over yet to, like power wash the rock or anything.
Yes. Did she have a caregiver or anybody to come in?
Yeah. It's Nancy's blood. But they say it's not helping the investigation. I totally missed that.
Well, then we have to look at the back door entrance. Somebody might have had a key. Anybody in the family.
Now, her daughter checked in on her, quite frequently. Her daughter, Annie, we know that. She
Yes.
did have a woman that would come over and tidy the house for her. She had a landscaper, but they weren't going to be there on Saturday or Sunday. And some people, Angel P was talking about a Law and Order she watched. You ever watch that show, Aunt Sherry?
Yes, I have. Mir Brooks.
There was a similar case on that show, and it was from someone that worked at the home. They knew the codes to get in. They knew where money was kept and stuff like that.
Yes.
That door was left wide open, and the front door was shut behind them.
Uh-huh.
camera work, but it's pitch black out here. There is not one light out here. And it's a ways to the next house. So I'm just thinking if they came in through the back door, to take her out the back door, though, it's not like there'd be a little alley back there. I mean, there's like cactus. This is not, it's like kind of wild land out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But whoever smashed the cameras maybe thought it would be an easier way to get in the back door to smash a camera without being seen, go in the back, and then maybe smash the front camera from the inside of the house coming out. Who knows? I mean, but whoever it was, my law enforcement source said they knew there were those cameras and where they were in order to smash them. We're getting to that in a bit, but helicopters overhead while you were doing your live shot earlier today. Talk to me about that.
Yeah,
that was wild. They were like hanging out of the helicopters and stuff. I couldn't figure out what they were doing. It was giving me anxiety.
I think they were filming.
Well, they were hanging out of the camera. I mean, hanging out of the helicopter. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. That was giving me anxiety watching that.
Yeah, that is strange, but.
And again, they're not going to take her out the back door because, I mean, it's Arizona. It's Tucson. They're not going to go travel around through a bunch of cactus and rock and desert and shit. They're not going to do that. And trust me, they have searched all of that stuff because it's very vast where she lives.
Well,
my first assumption when they said abduction, I thought, well, somebody was laying in wait, as they say, and they could have been behind any of those rocks. And when I say rocks, the rocks in Arizona are huge.
Boulders.
Yeah, they're freaking boulders. I'm talking you need heavy equipment to get them. They are like embedded in the ground,
Brooks, may I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
what about life insurance? Has anybody checked into that yet? Or
She definitely has life insurance. Yeah, her and her husband have a whole life insurance policy. And
okay,
so she has his. And then, of course, she has one that's going to be left to her children. And then, of course, she has the house and, whatever else, she has. Yeah, she's no tinker's dam, my friend. She's got money.
well, the thing that I'm just going to call him Beard. Okay, Beard. He he would be the first person I would look at because indirectly using his wife, he could get some of that life insurance money.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to call him Beard. But I think Beard's in on it, in my opinion.
Right now, that's all we can assume, considering what Ashley put out, and they took the car and they took all that stuff from their house. We haven't heard about anybody else. And then the same day, they took down all the crime scene tape and just left the house wide open.
That kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was a sheriff helicopter that got very, very low over the house with two men looking out and down. And my first thought was like, oh, sometimes they'll just kind of come by to come look real quick and then they'll leave. But they stayed for over an hour over the house and then across the street. And then in like kind of, again, it's almost like fields out here, but with a lot of cactuses in the vicinity of the house, very low, looking around. And then we saw a search and rescue truck out here, which we hadn't seen all day. So I don't know if there was kind of like, hey, we left some stone unturned and we just want to go back out and look one more time, or if there was a specific tip that came in, something specific that they were looking.
Wow. Just wow.
Brian's trying to describe the house. Let's you can see, I said whole life and it pops up. Okay, so you can obviously, what's up with all these damn ads? Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. Try and look at
I don't like them, but I'm too cheap to pay for them not being there.
for this shit. Okay, so you can see like entrance to the house is, obviously you can see the back. That's where the pool is. Now, like I said, when you go back through there, as we move it, you move the map. You see what's behind her house. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Like I said, some of these cactus back there are like 200 years old. Okay.
Yes.
Now, right here is another house. I got another Sonic ad. Now I want Sonic. So they wouldn't have gone through the back door. They took her through the front. May said, cactus for the win, Alex. I'm telling you, look at me using Google Maps like Emma on Crime Stories Obsessed.
Thank you for showing that.
But it was very clear that they were looking for something. Because again, at first I thought like, oh, the helicopter's doing a pass. The sheriff's office just wants to show that they're keeping an eye on the area. But no, they were searching for something.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Coffendorfer mentioned they might have gotten called a tip.
It looks like an institution or some sort of facility other than a home, to me.
That's a common look in Arizona. That's
styles
just
of homes they like.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Where's the ransom note found, Brooks?
They didn't say, but that's a common style of house in Arizona.
Trying to find whatever it was they thought might be with.
I'm right here, and she's bringing up Jennifer Coffendorfer.
The ransom note left.
Sherry, we don't know. They haven't told us. We don't know. They haven't told us. It was just presented yesterday that they want millions of dollars in Bitcoin. So she's bringing up Jennifer Coffendorfer, and she's as obvious as Lisa K. Ruiz. She's like, well, maybe they got a tip. That's your FBI expertise. That's all you've got, coffee grabber.
In the vicinity of the house. Or maybe they thought whoever took her couldn't manage for too long. And maybe there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that, you know, if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there are so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard to keep the integrity of a potential body, if there is one, you know, intact for a long time with all the wildlife. And let's hope that that's not the situation. The ransom notes, let's talk a little bit about that. One to TMZ that was detailed about what she was wearing, details inside the house, and then asking for Bitcoin. And another one to a local TV station. Let me see which one it is. I think it's KOLD TV in Tucson. KOLD, yeah. They, you know, my law enforcement source says he's not putting a lot of stock in that. There's a lot of crazies out there that want to insert themselves. But what are you hearing from where you are?
Yeah, so you.
Okay, important to know. Her source is saying there's a lot of crazies out there. We know that, so they're not putting a lot of stock into it. I think they're afraid to say
Is
that
my
they have.
mic off?
No, can you hear? Okay, can you hear? Sherry, can you hear me? Okay, so I don't know where Sherry went. I think they're afraid to say how relevant that letter is. I really do.
Mentioned with the TMZ note, we learned that in the note there were some specifics about what Nancy was wearing and then specifics about the inside of the house, but we don't know if those are true. I mean, like that was just coming from TMZ. We don't know if it actually, you know, is going to check out with what she was actually wearing.
Yeah, like TMZ got it. Like TMZ
Right.
got that.
And it was
It's
an
just
email,
that,
by the way.
In an email, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it just some, you know, lunatic who's going to be traced and charged? You know, that, and also the sheriff said that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could you know, anyway, that's part of the idea here is that emails can be traced.
Yeah, they can be traced. I don't know. I think the whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would the kidnapper reach out to TMZ? And then I noticed that TMZ, Harvey Levin was saying they were having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff initially, which I just found to be kind of strange if the sheriff was taking it that seriously. But the sheriff's office did put out a statement later saying, acknowledging these and saying that they were investigating. Yeah, there it is. And when I was at the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, Ashley. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually factor? Anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit new at this. I mean, they don't get this kind of stuff going on in this rural area in Pima County. But, you know.
Very rural. Very rural. Not rural around here because it's raining, my friends. It is raining. Look what Big T did. She gifted 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Woo! You go, girl.
So upsetting just to think that somebody, if it's true, may be trying to insert themselves. Let's get to some of the other breaking stuff that my source told me that's just kind of blood curdling. That they did indeed find blood inside the house. You found the blood outside the house. The confirmation from my law enforcement sources that there was blood inside the house as well. And that they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister and the last person to have dropped Mrs. Guthrie off at 9:45 the night before, but that they have towed and impounded her car into evidence. That is sort of the ground shook when I learned that.
That's interesting.
Brian already knew that.
Hey, Rapper, I love you, buddy.
Rapper says, I need a membership. It's $2, baby. You can pay $2 or you can pay $5 and you get exclusive seat at the table. To Boston Moms, I agree. Her source is spilling all the tea. We do have a members live coming up, so if you're not a member, you know what to do.
Because we had heard that the FBI was at the sister's house, the Savannah sister's house, earlier tonight. I hadn't heard the towing of the car, and I just kind of assumed like they were over there talking to them, trying to get more information about, what was going on in Nancy's life in the days up to this. But yeah, the towing of the car, I'm trying to sort of wrap my mind around the reasons that they may have done that.
I mean, I guess I can understand. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why it's not a big deal. And
right.
It's the last person to have seen Nancy Guthrie. My law enforcement source says, who takes an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility? It's a burden for the kidnapper to do so, unless someone has a vested interest in gaining something from it, like insurance benefits or a family debt that needs paid off, anything like that. This was just the musings, not the evidence of this investigator. But the other sort of earth-shattering information that this source told me is that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, Annie's husband, Thomas Ocione, is now maybe considered prime suspect in this case.
That's weird.
Wow. Yeah. So I haven't heard the most, like I said, the most I heard was that the FBI was at their house earlier today. I haven't heard that at all. I don't know much about them. I mean, I think they were the last ones with her, right? On Friday night.
Two reports that Annie dropped her off, or that Annie and Tomaso dropped her off. It's a little unclear, but this law enforcement source specifically pointed to her car being towed, impounded, and in evidence, and the son-in-law, Tomaso Cioni, age 50, may be the prime suspect in
Brooks?
Yeah.
Where was the ransom note left?
We don't know. They haven't told us.
Okay. And I want to mention the blood spatter at the front too.
Go ahead.
That's not a deep cut or anything. You could see where somebody they splattered it by like shaking their finger or something, and it made it splatter.
Mhm.
But that's not enough blood to be a
But
lethal.
they found blood in the house too.
Oh, okay. Okay. Was it did it look like what it did on the foyer or stoop going into the house?
They haven't released that, but you can see Plattfield is clearly reading from her notes. So she's taking notes as she's taking all this down, because she keeps looking down at her notepad.
Okay.
So let's go through what we know. Okay, let's go through the timeline again. Here's the timeline. Timeline tells a lot, believe it or not. I know some people get tired of hearing about it, but in every case, timeline is
important. It's very important.
So Nancy was back home at 9:45 p.m. having dinner with Annie and Thomas. It is unclear right now if Tommaso, whatever, if Beard was with Annie, we don't know. But Annie had to get her mom back into the house, so she knew Saturday night what that house looked like. She knew. Okay. Early morning. They have not specified what early morning is. Now, her mom went to every service at church. The sunrise, Sunday school, both services. Sometimes she wouldn't get home till like 1 p.m. Okay. Then she'd turn around and she would go to Sunday services, and she was known to volunteer at the church, and she was known to go to Wednesday night services. This is all documented. Annie gets a call from a church friend saying, your mom's not at church. Like, we have a sunrise service here. It's at 6 a.m. Okay. Annie and her husband get to the home at 11 a.m. They don't call 911 till noon. And
where have we heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, when people don't call 911 immediately. Where have we heard that? How many cases?
And sometimes I understand why they don't, but this case, no. She's not answering the phone. She's 84 years old and she is not at home. You would call immediately. You knew what the house looked like at 9:45 p.m. According to the police, it was an obvious crime scene. She should have called immediately.
Well, and it would make sense even if hopefully did absolutely nothing wrong, and this is their mom, and it's like makes your heart hurt. I mean, I feel terrible for everyone in the family, but it would make sense that they don't want to leave any stone unturned. So even if investigators are thinking like, we don't think these people had anything to do with it, but the fact that they were the last ones with her, she was in that car the night before, like maybe they're just going to check everything regardless.
And that, my source said there's a lot of familiarity. This kidnapper had a lot of familiarity with this home, with the 2 different Nest cams that were smashed. And, that they said an 84-year-old woman with limited.
I think they confiscated the car. Her car.
No. Nancy's car is still in the garage. They seized Annie's car. Nancy's car is still in the garage, and she rarely uses it. She has kind of limited mobility.
Mobility is not an easy person to kidnap. There has to be a benefit in some way. You think about a break-in. No, you've caught me breaking into your house. Now you've seen me. Well, you don't typically kill someone and take the body or take the live person with you. That's not usually how a burglary that's foiled ends. It's far more complicated and odd. The mystery is more. It just takes you in a different direction. Your thoughts, anyway. The other thing is that my source said they are obviously looking at all cell phone pings and geofencing to find out what was in that neighborhood. This is the kind of thing that, trips up just about anybody. It may have tripped up Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. He left his phone in the hospital, but the car was seen. Brian Koberger shuts his phone off right as he's leaving and puts his phone back on right as he's returning home, right around the times of the murders. These are things that some people just don't think about.
Yeah, and it's not just phones. I was talking to
Look, whoever did this, they planned it.
Yes, they did. This was totally premeditated. 100%.
They knew that Monday would be a no-go because there's going to be a housekeeper there. Okay. I don't know when the landscapers show up. But this was planned. I do wonder what transpired at dinner Saturday night and what the conversation was when Annie was taking her mom back into the house. And again, why the lag in time from when the church friend called saying Nancy didn't come to church, and they get there at 11 a.m. And where they bummed around for like an hour, and then they called 911. I'm not saying it took the police an hour to get there. That's when the call was made, a little after noon.
And that's what we've seen in so many cases, delayed calling of 911.
Yeah, I mean, she's 84 years old. Where do they think she went? Her car's in the garage. Her pocketbook is there, but she's gone. Her phone is there. Her Apple Watch is there. It's all there. So exactly, where did they think she went? Why would you delay going over to check on her in the first place? Because remember, the call was early morning. I'm going to assume that call came after sunrise service, so that would be around 7 a.m. when sunrise service is over. And so that would be 7 in the morning because our sunrise service is from 6 to 7. I don't know about theirs. Okay, so let's just say that she called a little after 7, getting ready for the next service. And they get there at 11. They didn't call when church was over. When church is over, it's like noon.
Okay, Boston had a good comment.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go back and see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Boston said, yeah, that's what I wonder. Maybe they asked to borrow money from her, and she said no. Who knows? Yeah, we have no idea. Webbs, does Annie or her hubby have any past criminal charges? Not that I know of.
I would doubt it.
FBI agent who just retired actually from this area earlier, and he was reminding me that, it's iPads, it's like all sorts, it's iWatch, it's all sorts of electronics now, that can track you. And he was emphasizing to me that is the number one thing that the FBI is doing right now, and that they can literally narrow it down in such a way through the cell phone towers to who was right in this area, and then try to follow that device. And he thinks that's really what's going on behind the scenes right now. And there's also just questions about, do they have a suspect that we just don't know about? I mean, I was thinking back to Brian Koberger earlier when you and I were talking every night, and it was like, gosh, these police.
Do not compare this case to Koberger. Do not compare this case to Koberger. Do not compare this case to Elizabeth Smart. This is an anomaly. She is 84 years old. She is a wealthy 84-year-old woman with a daughter that is the main anchor for the freaking Today Show. Fuck Brian Koberger. I never want to hear his name or see his face again.
I feel the same way, Brooks. I do. I'm sick of it.
Every time that shit pops up on my feed, I just hit the X. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him. Don't even bring him up. You can't even compare these two cases.
He's another weirdo. Trust me.
At least they don't seem like they know anything, and then come to find out they knew a lot. You know, do they just have their poker face on in these press conferences, and they actually know a lot?
And it's true, they do. I mean, that has to be. We have to be kept in the dark about things because they've got to keep the suspect in the dark about a lot of things. You know, super interesting though. You know, just about the fact that family members are always number one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ed Smart. Ed Smart was like one of the number one, you know, suspects in the disappearance of his daughter, Elizabeth. Because does the boogeyman really come into your house and steal your daughter out of her bed beside her little sister? I doubt it. Well, he did. You know, the boogeyman did come in. Brian David Mitchell did come in and steal Elizabeth, and it wasn't Ed Smart. But the way...
Again, I know where they're going. No, we're not going to compare the abduction of Elizabeth Smart to that of an 84-year-old woman. Okay. Can the boogeyman come in and do it? Sure. And neither of these two people, Plaidfield or News Daddy, should be surprised about phones or anything because we're a digitally run world. I think before they even send off blood samples or even run fingerprints, they're already looking at the digitals. What are their socials? Who do they talk to? Who have they been texting? They do the geofencing. They do all that stuff. They do all of that stuff first.
They always start with the family. They start at the bullseye and they move out to in a ring. They go to the next ring of people, and then they go to the next ring of people, the next ring. So they always start with the family.
Sure they do. Sure they do.
And then they move outward onto neighbors, friends, acquaintances, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just telling you, I think it's Beard. I think it's Beard inspired.
Let me ask everybody in here, do you think it's Beard or do you think it's someone else? Lolo said, did you hear about the church that put up $25,000? That is wonderful. Did they know that the kidnappers only take Bitcoin? That just blew my damn mind.
Mine too.
I think more than one person's involved. I don't think Beard or Annie would have the nerve to do this by themselves or have their car seen or anything of the sort. But they could scratch up some cash to get someone to go get the mama. The question is, where is she now? And what are they going to do about this delivery of money? Because at this point, all signs are flashing. Beep, 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 that this is money motivated.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement works is you have to start from the inside of the concentric circles and then work out to any potential other suspects. So if this ends up being prime suspect, but not the only one, and we're just eliminating him, that could definitely be the case. But I also feel like, would you tow and impound the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, of Nancy Guthrie's daughter, and if there weren't something bigger to it? I mean, it's very loud. It's a very big move.
Do you think it's strange? And you're more, I mean, you've been in the bigger media world more than I have. Like, do you think it's strange that Savannah Guthrie hasn't said anything? I mean, could that be an indication of maybe some drama in the family behind the scenes?
I think she's not saying a damn word except for when she got slammed for asking for prayers. I don't really think she needs to be addressing the public right now. I just don't really think she does, for many, many reasons. And as far as when the ransom was demanded, we don't know when it was sent to the FBI. It seems like the escalation was yesterday because whoever wanted the money wasn't getting an answer, and so they started reaching out to media sources. And FBI, of course, is going to find out who this person is. I don't know how quick they're going to, and they're going to say we need proof of life, but they're going to answer all those questions tomorrow. I have a feeling it's going to be another him-haw fest. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be another him-haw fest where they're going to say, they're basically going to answer the same questions. It seems to me that they're right on the cusp of solving this.
So many things could be happening there. If I were in Savannah's shoes, I would be mute. I would be, catatonic. You're a big media person. This massive thing is swirling around you. You don't even know what to say and what not to say. You have a million friends in the media business. Everybody wants a comment from you. And the police may have just said, we'd like you not to say anything. And I know Savannah. Savannah is a lawyer. She is a long-studied crime reporter. I met her at Court TV. We worked together at Court TV. She is brilliant. And so Savannah will be doing the smartest things to aid in this investigation. She will do everything that the police are asking her to do, and she will not.
She's not going to waver for anything. She's not going to waver at all. This is about her mama. She's no fucking Candace Wells. She's not going to call into Daisy's channel all fucking sloshed and trash going, I don't give a fuck, never cared about my sister anyway. Yeah, I heard they got the bitch's car. No, you're not going to get that from Savannah Guthrie. You're not going to get that from her. She will say something someday, but it's going to be a very controlled environment. It's going to be a very controlled interview.
Go rogue. I know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The other aspect of that is that if the FBI was over at Annie's house, they've towed her car, they're looking at her husband. If I were Savannah, yeah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is a family dynamic here, might be a reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, gosh, that's just terrible.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that her source is right because it has been verified. Annie's car has been seized by the FBI and it has been entered into evidence. They didn't say we're taking it for a test drive. It has been entered into evidence. Also, you can see right here, the FBI, they had all the white vans. They had the gloves. They had the little bags. They had all the shit at Annie's house, taking things out. This is going to get worse before it gets better, and I just can't imagine what that family is going through. Because to think that your brother-in-law would be so desperate for some Bitcoin that he would honestly kidnap your own mother and just turn everyone's life upside down. I couldn't even...
A Bitcoin, for those of you who ask, is a metal coin. It is worth a certain amount of money. And it's like investing in silver or gold or something like that. In other words, the Bitcoin is a monetary coin. I mean, and it's worth a lot of money, depending on what you've invested into the Bitcoin.
I wondered this too, Debbie. Maybe he is a gambler. Annie, what does she do? I don't know what she does for a living. I do not know. Let me just see. You all sit back and watch the magic. Watch the magic. I'm going to do just like Lisa K. Ruitz. Okay, I'm on Google. What does Annie Guthrie do for a living? It popped up. It's self-populated. She is a marketing and publicity director for Core Press, and she runs a commission-only jewelry business at the Splinter Brothers and Sisters warehouse. There you go. She's a marketing and publicity director for Core Press. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Did you all just see what I just did? Did you just see what I did? Me or Sherry? Did you?
What did you do?
Oh, I just went and Googled something up. Just hit.
Okay.
I
The
just
more
did
you do, the more we find out.
Tell you what. All right, you guys, this has been a great show. We're going to cover it again tomorrow because more information's coming out. I have a feeling some things are going to happen today, but they have said they are not going to address the public until tomorrow. So tomorrow, you better be here, and I'll say, Mir, Sherry, me, Susan,
Beer, Brooks, beer, honey.
me, Lolo.
I'll try to be here. Okay, I love you.
Yeah, you
I
get
love
you.
you. I love you guys.
You, friend. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day. I don't have anything else planned for this afternoon. I got some stuff going on. I will be in Discord, being, the different Facebook groups and stuff like that. The usual rig and roll. Hold on. What is this? May's on a roll. Annie has written a book of poems called The Good Dark. FML. All right. I will see you guys back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. You guys are the absolute best. And where has Kimberly Mann been? I got to go find her. You guys are the best. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye.